interesting after seeing how the weekend was in the NFL.
It really was. We talked about it going in on Friday. About
You're
how
rooting for the Chiefs, man.
Yeah,
I can't believe you.
I
cannot believe you rooting for Kansas City.
I stand by it.
Why? Why?
Because, Cecil, I think you need to be worried about what's on the road in front of you, not what is behind you. And I think the Chiefs are behind them.
The Chiefs are behind the Broncos.
Yes. Now, they may continue to creep up.
Now the Chiefs have life.
The Chiefs may continue to creep up in the rear view, Cecil, but who's got more work cut out for them to be a threat for the Broncos? The Colts or the Chiefs?
Who has more work?
Yeah. Who's got a larger opportunity to impact the Broncos' seeding, standing, and potential first-round matchup?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
In what sense?
They play them again, and they play within this division. For everyone out there having this fantasy, let me finish. As you're the originator of that.
State of the art.
Let me finish. For everyone that's saying like, oh, well, and then taking down the Colts were already going to lose another game or two. The Patriots are the team that, if you're a Broncos fan, you need to concern yourself with the most when it comes to the number one seed. It's clearly an obvious New England. It was never going to be Indy. They play Houston twice. They play Jacksonville twice. In addition to this Kansas City game, Indy could have beat Kansas City, and they should have. They had the lead, and they were still going to lose a couple of games. Now Kansas City has life. Now you face them again. What is it, the last game of the year, right? Wherever the schedule's at. Last game of the year. You know what I want? I want a reverse of last year, where it's the Jarrett Stidham game.
Right.
Because the Broncos have wrapped it up. Right. Because the Colts are going to lose, but then the Patriots dropped the one to the Bengals or whatever.
Do you know how sweet that would be
and
if
then
Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce got to roll out their starters and they have everything
to
lose?
And their playoff hopes
right? And Sean Payton's out there trotting Sparky out there.
And wouldn't it be great if Jarrett Stidham
Perry
beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And that's why,
he'd do better than Carson Wentz.
The Colts were already going to lose a couple.
Do you
the
really
Patriots are the team.
You mentioned the Jaguars and the Texans. Listen, I get it. The Texans defense.
Is legit.
For real. They're for real.
Yeah.
And they've played some capable football with Davis Mills while C.J. Stroud's recovering from a concussion. You expect him to be back in the near future. But when you watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, Cecil, do you really see them as an AFC South or an AFC wildcard threat? I think Indianapolis can handle Jacksonville in as much as I think Jacksonville, as they are wont to do, gives games away.
I think Indianapolis you got to have Jonathan Taylor available. And if you take Jonathan Taylor away, and Yahoo Sports did everyone's Achilles, right? Achilles!
Yes. Achilles!
The Broncos' Achilles is Bo Nix. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But the one for Indy was playing from behind. Once you take Jonathan Taylor away, which is very tough to do, then it's Daniel Jones. Okay.
Is he kind of is
Josh Downs dropping passes, Alec Pierce dropping passes.
Is the carriage for Daniel Jones turning back into a pumpkin?
A little bit, yeah. They're playing a little bit kind of smoke and mirrors. Outside of Jonathan Taylor's a superstar. Don't at me, bro.
You had a double-digit lead for the Colts in the fourth quarter, and you lost that game.
Right. So you played with a lead, and you lost that game to Kansas City. Now, defensively, can Houston stuff Jonathan Taylor? They got a good chance of doing that. Can Jacksonville do the same? Yeah, maybe. It's Jonathan Taylor. It's very tough to deal with. But I never looked at the Colts' remaining schedule and thought, man, they're going to win a bunch of games. I looked at the Colts' remaining schedule as a gauntlet. I look at the Patriots' remaining schedule as cupcake after cupcake after cupcake. So people should have been rooting for Cincinnati and Joe Flacco, elite, more so than rooting for Kansas City. I can't believe you rooted for Kansas City. That bothers me, man. You're a brother. You're a true friend.
That's true.
That bothers me that you rooted for Kansas City. Nobody should be rooting for Kansas City.
I get the emotional aspect behind it, but I think there's logic that would imply that.
So I'm being illogical again?
No, I wouldn't say you're being illogical. I just think we're maybe focused on different things, because I think for me, the Broncos in their pursuit of the number one seed, it's not a would be nice. It's not a luxury. To me, it's a need. I think the Broncos need to secure the number one seed. And the Indianapolis Colts are somebody that stands in their way of that, especially considering an early season head-to-head win that can factor into, tiebreaker seeding scenarios. I know there's record against conference and common opponents and things of that nature as well. But the Colts putting a third loss in their loss column, leaving the Patriots, who played an extra game, so the Broncos have one in hand, to be able to pursue that number one seed, I think is important. And I think Kansas City is not a threat in that regard to challenging the Broncos for the number one seed. Kansas City's going to have to win basically all their games or close to it from here on out to really secure themselves an opportunity in the postseason. Yes, beating Indianapolis helps them in that regard, but this Broncos team, again, to me, I think there should be a high level and degree of importance on getting the number 1 seed, securing a first-round bye, and putting yourself in a situation where you are 2 home playoff games with one of the best home field advantages in the National Football League from playing in the Super Bowl in Santa Clara.
So when did this happen? When did it become a need for you? This was not part of the plan. This was not anything on anybody's radar. I'm nuts. I said 13 wins. People said I was nuts. Who's crazy now? But I never said number 1 seed in the AFC. Yeah. Now you're saying it's a need? How does that happen? How does it go from like they're not going to do it or we didn't expect them to do it to now it's got to be a need? Come on, man. It's not a need if you didn't expect it to happen.
No, I think well, situations change, Cecil. With new information becomes new observation.
Very true.
And so because I felt one way about the Broncos before the season, and frankly, there have been moments throughout the regular season, especially on the offensive side of the football, where I go, okay, these are some of the concerns that we thought we had. But the defense being Colorado Avalanche level historic and dominant with their sack production, with their yardage and point production, from a defensive perspective, it changes the math and the equation a little bit. So because I felt one way in preseason week 2, and then I watched the Broncos start 1-2 and go, okay, I know there were 2 walk-off losses, but that's 2 out of 3. And then they rattle off 7-8 straight wins, and they're sitting at 9-2. And the only reason they're not currently the number 1 seed is because they have a game in hand. Suddenly more things are in play. The game has changed a little bit.
But how does it become a need?
Because I still
think this team needs to win the AFC West. That's the need.
Well, they would both come hand in hand.
Are you afraid of going to Foxborough?
I wouldn't say I'm afraid necessarily of going anywhere. Okay. But when I'm looking at the Broncos.
Defense travels.
They do. But I like the South Stands. I like the crowd at Mile High. I like the energy. I like Tony Romo when he's not sucking at being a color commentator saying how loud this is the loudest stadium we've been in all season. But it is tough. I'm not going to go on a tangent about it, but Tony Romo is a tougher and tougher listen every week for
with
me.
Kansas City games.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Anyways, because I'm not going to do it. I said I wasn't. I think that the Broncos have a championship caliber defense. And they've been able to sustain that without the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, without their green dot in Alex Singleton for a variety of unfortunate reasons and circumstances. And I expect that to continue and maybe even amplify when they are back and healthy in the lineup. But this Broncos offense, Cecil, has shown that it needs help. It needs a little gust of wind in the sails, needs a little shoulder rub to say, hey, get out there, you can do it.
We all need a little shoulder rub.
Yeah, they need a lot of it, though. They're like they
need a lot of massaging.
They need a lot of TLC. They need things to go right. They need a defense to be dominant for 3 quarters to put themselves within striking distance of an opportunity.
But the fact that they can get it done in the 4th quarter, I think, should give us all kind of hope and faith that they can get it done.
And I don't want to have to test that and gamble that in a road environment. I don't want to have to gamble on a 4th quarter comeback and some miraculous things in a road environment. I want the variables in this Denver Broncos experiment to be as controlled as possible.
I want all the pressure on New England.
I want
a home game. Don't at me, bro. Like home AFC Championship would be great, but the pressure on New England in their house after they're 15-2 or whatever, and the Broncos go in and beat that ass.
But how is the pressure all on New England? If they get the number 1 seed, they get a bye week. The Broncos are a 2 seed. They've got to turn around and face a 7 seed Buffalo Bills or a 7 seed Kansas City Chiefs or however it shakes out in the end. They've got to win a game just to be able to put the pressure on New England. So I actually think that putting the pressure on New England is getting the number 1 seed.
Why is home cooking good for one game and not good for the other? Right?
What do you mean?
They got home cooking in the divisional round, right? Or wild card round, excuse me.
Yeah.
Wild card round, they're number 2 seed. They're playing wild card round.
But it has to do with
That's home cooking.
It has to do with the opponent that you're facing.
I'm not afraid of Buffalo. I'm not afraid of Kansas City.
You don't have to be afraid of it. But I think it's fair to acknowledge that if you had to have your first 2 rounds of the playoff be bye week reseeding Kansas City or Buffalo versus Baltimore, and then, you know what I mean? Like, you got to play 2 games instead of 1. I just think that's math.
I think Lamar's hurt. Otherwise, Baltimore offensively would be very dangerous.
And their defense is figuring it out.
They do things that the Broncos have at times struggled to deal with. Stopping a superstar running back like Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That could still be a problem. Tight ends, they seem to have figured out. I'm always hesitant to say, like, Jahdae Barron's the tight end stopper. He is, but I kind of want to see a little bit more because it's been so long. This team hasn't been good against stopping tight ends, but hopefully now that's the case. But
So it's not a need.
Number 1 seed is not a need. Not a need at all. It's a luxury, to be sure, but it's not a need for a team that can go anywhere, can win in any scenario, can be down by 19 points entering the fourth quarter and still come back and win.
See, because I feel like what you're describing to me, that the mentality, the mindset that you're coming from is the people who I think when we talk about, let's say we talk about the Nuggets and the Avalanche, right? I've heard Mike Evans several times over the last couple of years since both those teams won titles. We'll just zero in on the Avs. I don't really care where the Avs line up in the playoffs. I have faith. I think they can win anywhere. I think they have a loaded
roster. Home ice is much more important for the Avs than home field is for the Broncos.
I think that the Empower Field at Mile High, with the altitude, the noise, and the atmosphere, is one of the best home advantages.
Oh, of course.
Definitely in football.
But it's not about that. With hockey, it's about the stupid playoff format.
Yeah, I get that.
So if you're not the number 1 seed,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, but, you say things like that, and it can be true. The Avs can have a lot of talent, but they line themselves up against the Dallas Stars in a first-round series, and it doesn't work, or they struggle to get out of the second round every year except the year they won the Cup. The Nuggets had to play a Game 7 on a road court in Oklahoma City, the eventual champs, and they played them close. And if that game was at Ball Arena, maybe things shake out differently. Maybe it doesn't because there was a lot of factors at play. But I just think that when you say, like, oh, these guys can travel anywhere, they can do, anything, I believe in this, I believe in that, all of that is true, but there's no reason to unnecessarily risk it. The people who were whining and trying to discredit the Nuggets winning the title because they felt they had the weakest path to a championship.
Oh, that's
in
weak sauce.
NBA history. Who cares?
Get that stuff out of here.
I don't actually care, Cecil, if the Denver Broncos playoff and path to a Super Bowl is they get a first round bye, they get a matchup against the Buffalo Bills in the second round, and during the wild card round, Josh Allen tweaked a hammy and can't play, and they have to go up against Tyrod Taylor or whoever the backup is there. And then in the next round, I don't care. I want the Denver Broncos to have a path of least resistance, and everything that can break their way, every green light they can catch, I want them to catch that. The number 1 seed is part of that.
Well, I think philosophically, and I'll say this without being insulting again because you're a friend, I want the hard path. I want to be tested. I want to know that being the underdog is a thing. And does Sean Payton operate well when he's in the driver's seat? Let's go back to what he said to Charles Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
7 teams that he's coached. Yeah, he's got 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 1 ring. So what is it about those other Saints teams? Offensively, they were dominant. Offensively, they were rolling. Offensively, they had a great record. Like, that was a team that when Sean Payton was in the driver's seat, they didn't go where you needed them to go. What about when you're an underdog? I want it to be hard because life is hard. Choose your hard. Football's hard. Choose your hard. Having a home game and having the pressure all on you because you're the number 1 seed, that's hard. Going on the road to win in Foxborough, that's hard. Choose your hard. I would rather have the path of more resistance because this team is built for that. They have the resistance. They have the ability to overcome obstacles and to create momentum. A lot of this game is mental. So from a mentality standpoint, let's talk about the mentality of athletes. What is it better to do? Like everything's easy, red carpet's rolled out for you. Imagine you're the Patriots. We're doing New England radio right now. We're talking about Chowda.
Yeah.
Rolling out the red carpet with the third easiest schedule. Is that going to do them good in the playoffs when they have to face the best of the best teams? Or the Broncos battling in a division that is tougher than the AFC East? Right? And Miami's a slappy. The Jets are slappies. The Bills have slappy tendencies because their coach is terrible. But, like, if you're New England, you've had that red carpet. You've had the easy path. What is more telling when it comes to postseason football? The team that has the easy path or the team that had to go through it? They had to muck it up a little bit. Give me some of that muck. I'm not afraid to get dirty. I'm not afraid of the mud.
Listen, I get the concept of wanting to be battle-tested and
from a mentality standpoint,
but
they can overcome anything.
My counterpoint would be, look at how
there is no counterpoint.
Look at how much they've had to overcome already. They have 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. They've overcome injuries to the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. They lost one of the best rushers in the National Football League through the first 2 months and change of a season. They have had to battle back from deficits in the majority of their games because of a lack of offensive production and continuity and cohesion. I feel like the Denver Broncos are that meme where it's like God only gives his toughest battles to his bravest soldiers, and it's like the other end of the meme is the guy being like, please God, stop. I'm just the Denver Broncos. Like, please stop giving me all your hardest challenges.
Right.
Like, and frankly, if you want to extrapolate that further, being a Broncos fan for the last decade is like, how far have we waited in the desert with the challenges with this Denver Broncos? I'm okay if it's easy. I want home field advantage.
Does it always?
I want the first round bye.
Okay, you want the easy path. That says a lot about you, which we'll leave that alone.
Gosh, it does not,
It
Cecil, because
totally
we're not
says
talking
that.
about me. We're talking about a football team that 2 of the 3 times they've hoisted a Lombardi trophy, they did it by being the number 1 seed, having a first round bye, and controlling their path to a championship.
I want this team to be as battle-tested as possible, and I'm going to totally tear down your point with one mere statement. And this is why it was such shaky ground that you were on. I mean, I didn't want to do this to you, but you have walked right into this,
go
trap.
ahead. I want the smoke because I think I'm right here.
No,
I think the tribe is agreeing with me on the text line.
No, tribe is not agreeing with Richie Cardi.
I can see it. I can literally see it. But go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. So now you're speaking out against me and the tribe.
Yes.
Does that make you feel good?
Yes.
You feel good?
Yes. Is everything going to go your way all the time?
No.
So why not have it be difficult so that you know you can overcome it? What you're painting this picture of, like, give them the easy path, easy button. None of that exists in the NFL. The NFL is not built like that. Sports aren't built like that.
I think I can know.
During a game, when everything's going your way, you know what I'm thinking? What about when they're not, like, everything's going your way, but you only got a field goal on that drive. Everything's going your way. Oh, damn it, you had to punt on that drive. No. When everything goes your way, you got to take advantage of it because, again, there's a great impermanence to everything in life. And that impermanence of everything's going to be smooth. I want it to not be smooth so that you can overcome, so that when it is easy, you are getting touchdowns. You are moving the ball. You are better because you've been through the hard. I want this team to go through the hard. And yes, this season has been hard and has had difficulties, fourth quarter comebacks. All of that is correct. But the mindset of I want the easy path will get this team bounced in the playoffs in the first game.
But I don't think that – I think you can say, hey, I want them to be battle-tested. I want them to be have a mentality that's forged in things aren't going right. And my argument would be, Cecil, I think they've already proven that to themselves, and they've been vocal about that. And I think that we can say we know that about them without forcing them to have to prove it in the postseason if they don't have to. Saying you want the hard path doesn't mean you have to go out of your way to make the path harder for yourself for no reason other than to say, I did it. They've proven they can do it already. They had one of the largest, most historic fourth quarter comebacks against the New York Giants in NFL history. They scored 18 points in the fourth quarter against the defending Super Bowl champions. They came back against the Texans. They came back against the Jets. They came back against the Chiefs. They have figured out ways to prove it to themselves, and you hear it in their post-game comments and their evaluations of themselves throughout the week. They know it hasn't been pretty. They know it hasn't been ideal, but they found ways to win. And because they've done that, my first response is, well, that's great. Now I want them to go do it again in the playoffs. I think they can do it. And if it comes down to it, I hope that they will. But it doesn't mean I want to force them or hope that they land in a situation where they have to prove it. Just because you have a card doesn't mean you have to play it.
Yeah, but you need to know that you have it. And how do you know if you have it if everything's easy?
I don't know. The
Avalanche. You and I know, and we can get personal if you want, although we don't need to. You and I know rich kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were probably much richer than I growing up. What do rich kids, when we get out in the workforce, what do they not know? How it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
What do they not know?
It's very easy.
And I'm not just saying blanket statement.
No,
if you're a rich kid, awesome, great, good for you, bud.
And it's not even always just about. It's not even just about money. It's about life experience and lessons and things like that. It's very easy, I think, regardless of the financial background, although it does influence it, to come across somebody in life where you interact with them and within almost a split-second reaction, you can say, yeah, I don't think you've faced a lot of adversity in life.
Well,
you know what I
have
mean?
you ever, and again, we know people like this, the people that run their mouth and you're like, oh, you've never gotten your ass kicked. I can tell the way you probably spit on somebody, right? Not you personally, but like.
I was like, not me.
We know people that, like, the way that they behave, it's like, oh, you've never got punched in the face. because you're being so disrespectful. I want the guys that have been punched in the face. So then they know, okay, what do you have to do to be on top? What do you have to do to be the best? I don't want the red carpet rolled out for this team. I don't think it needs to. And by the way, I don't think the NFL would allow it. The chat rooms on my side, on the YouTube chat, you're looking at the RamosLaw.com text line.
Well, that's how we do it. We
on
split.
My side, they are saying, oh, you know what KC is going to be hard to beat with the Zebras? It's KC and the Zebras.
Right.
The NFL would love nothing more than Kansas City to be in another AFC Championship game, so Pat Mahomes, blah, 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 blah. So you're saying, okay, Kansas City, they could win against the Colts, whatever. No, I'm saying you should never root for Kansas City because you have the Zebras, and the NFL would love to get them as far as they can go.
Yeah, and again, which is why I think that putting yourself in a position where you have a first-round bye and you force all the other teams to have to duke it out amongst themselves. But you're saying it's a need. It
became a need out of nowhere. Nobody was saying this. Nobody was saying they have to get the number one AFC. And now you're saying it's a need?
I think it's a need.
I just don't know how it becomes a need when however many weeks ago it wasn't even on the radar. How does it go from being a radar to being a need?
Because, Cecil, I don't think the Broncos being, well, maybe yours.
If you own a business, I own a small business.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden I get like super rich from my business, am I going to be like, you know what I need? A Lamborghini. Or am I going to...
You are a car guy.
I am a car guy, and I wouldn't mind a Lambo, but
Yeah.
you know what? Shelby's pretty nice. You know what I mean? My old 20-year-old Jeep, 26-year-old Jeep is pretty nice, you know, for what I need it to do.
Listen, we can agree to disagree on it. I think that the Broncos...
I don't need to agree to disagree or disagree agreeably, which is what we all should do. I need you to change your mind.
No, I'm not going to change my mind on this one. I think I'm right. I think the tribe on
You're
this back
in like an Alabama tick?
Yes, the RamosLaw.com text line.
Oh,
the
my
tribe.
God. Give me. You're saying this. I need proof.
Okay.
What are people saying? I need proof at 303-713-1043. I need proof that everyone out there wants the red carpet, wants everything to be easy for this team. Peyton Manning said it, and I quote him once a week. Ain't nothing easy out there.
All right, here you go.
There's nothing easy out there. Why do we want the easy path?
Cecil has lost his mind somewhere in the river he crossed over this morning with the fly fishing men. Give us home field advantage for the Mile High Magic, J Radio in Kansas. In the last 20 years, only 3 AFC road teams have won the championship game. No way, Cease. We are down JK in the playoffs. F that. Give us home turf. None of it is easy. We're not scared of KC even if they get through the first round. Let's see here. Creaky did back you up. Creaky did
Thank you, Creaky.
Creaky did say, sorry, Richie, give me the tough row to hoe. The Broncos need to show they can handle the hard teams.
Seeing Creaky's from Alaska, and all of a sudden, full stop, you just say, like Mark Schlereth. Mark Schlereth is a 3-time Super Bowl champion and a hell of a man. He's got porcelain skin. He's a beautiful human being. He's wonderful.
Yes.
You say from Alaska, you automatically go, oh, he's like wrestled bears and stuff. He's like super tough, right?
I have a shirtless photo of Mark Schlereth at 18 years old on my phone. I can't say that about anybody else in my life.
Why?
Have you've seen the one that Trey Wingo tweets out sometimes?
Yes.
So I saved it.
You saved it
to make something. It was like an arts and craftsy thing, and then I also
you
tweeted
are an
it
artsy
out.
craftsy guy.
This was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I've never deleted the photo. And I was going back through old photos, and I was like, "What is this?" I was like,
Yes.
"Oh, that's 18-year-old Mark Schlereth looking like a Greek god statue." And something that I'll never achieve. But yes, go on. Anyways, I didn't mean to derail your
now I'm
point.
distracted by Mark Schlereth being 18 without a shirt, and the fact that you have a picture of him on your phone. That's very curious. But hey, you're from Alaska, like Creaky, means you got tough opinions.
Cecil,
we want that tough path.
We need the first round bye. Come on, brother. You know we need it. Maybe next year we can take a harder path.
Wait. What? Again, why is there this need thing? Are the Broncos dominant or not defensively? Do they need everything to go their way? Or can the Broncos go out there and say, hey, you know what? You love Kansas City, refs. You want Kansas City? Hey, going to Buffalo. Hey, going to Foxborough. I'm not afraid of anything with this Broncos defense. Maybe you need it for the offense.
I'm not okay. Listen, we can land the plane here on this one. I'm not afraid of another path.
You just want it easy.
Yes. I want the Broncos to have the path of least resistance, to find a way to hoist a 4th Lombardi trophy, to have Sean Payton's vision that he spoke out in August saying it's the 7th team, ? That I've ever coached that I think can win a Super Bowl. And the portion of Bo Nix being a top 4 or 5 quarterback, maybe that one's not progressing quite as fast. But Cecil, winning a Super Bowl is hard no matter what path you take. The playoffs are going to be hard no matter what. Even if the Broncos have the number 1 seed and they get a bye week and they get to skip a week, the opponent that they have even with the reseeding, it's going to be hard. I don't feel like I need to, for my own philosophical or whatever reasons, say they need to have it be harder so that it can be justified and we can turn around and say that they earned it more than if it was a path of lesser resistance. I just don't think that's necessary.
To quote White Goodman, touche.